What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 8 of the A-Tier Analyst Podcast, hosted by yours truly, Aiden, also known as Dub Dub Sports. I'm here today with Tiernan on this fine Saturday. Tiernan, how you doing today?
Pretty good. Got a nice day out finally, so it's
Maybe for you. Out here in Ohio, it is gloomy, rainy, and wet, and there was
we're
a
hitting
dead frog
70
next to
today.
my car this morning.
That's
So it's
disgusting.
it's Ohio out here. I'm glad you're enjoying the weather in Jersey, but we've got a great episode today. We haven't really done a news-related episode in, I think, 2 weeks, something like that. Maybe even, I don't know, 2 weeks, I think, since we talked
Two,
about news.
two.
So we'll dive into what's going on around the NBA right now. We're going to talk about some teams as they make some playoff pushes and gain some momentum as the season comes to an end. And then we're going to talk about some player news, award races, and injuries that are shaking things up in the NBA. So I'm excited for it. Back to just talking about the week. First thing we're going to talk about here is the Indiana Pacers and their recent success. How are you feeling about this Pacers team? Because I feel like they kind of got it together almost out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean they've had easy games. We were kind of talking about. They haven't really been beating great teams on this streak.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're 8-2 in their last 10, and probably crazier in the last 15. But a
Right.
key chunk of those wins are against Brooklyn. They killed the Wizards, the
That was
Sixers,
crazy.
the Mavs without anybody. I mean, they probably should have won that Lakers game, where that would have been a nice win, but
Yeah.
they didn't pull it out. So, yeah, no, they got hot, and I do think a large part of that is probably because Hallie's been on fire since the All Star
Mm-hmm.
break. He's a guy I feel like got gassed up a few years ago, where he got a little overrated for a period of time, and then had a bad couple weeks, month, where people kind of forgot about him, and he's been kind of quiet the last year and a half. Even last year
Right.
in that playoff series against the Knicks, like it wasn't as talked about as you'd expect.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, since the All Star break, he's shooting 54, 45, 92, averaging 22 and 12 with one
That,
turnover a game.
that's the part that impresses me the most is the turnovers. I mean,
Yeah,
we all know how good of a playmaker Hallie is, but a lot of the guys, like, I don't know, you look at Cade, for example, great playmaker, but he turns the ball over a lot. And the fact that Hallie's not wasting possessions while playmaking at such an elite level, I mean, that's what makes him him. It's just his scoring for me. As the best player in the team, I think you need to be a little bit more reliable of a scorer consistently, and that's what worries me in the playoffs. Is I don't know if he'll be able to score and help this team because I don't trust Pascal Siakam to go do it.
yeah. I feel like that was what they were looking to solve too with bringing in Pascal when they did. Like he was supposed to be the guy that was the consistent scoring option,
And
and
he's averaging 27 and 3 right now. Siakam's not having a bad season by any means.
no,
Great efficiency. We'll just see in the playoffs. I think the theme with this Pacers team over the last few years has been the defense. Like, what are they going to do defensively in the playoffs? Are they going to be able to buckle down? They give up 115 a game right now. That's the most out of all top 6 seeds. Um, that's been my thing with them is I don't think their offense is going to be able to power them deep into the playoffs. They definitely impressed me last year, but I just am not taking this team as serious. I would even be taking Detroit more serious right now, I think.
I just think even no matter how good a team is right now, honestly, they're kind of stuck because those second round matchups you're going to have to see Boston or the Cavs. Like they don't have to play each other. They're going to be
Yeah,
on opposite sides here, where
yeah.
someone's going to have to play them and beat them. And I don't think any team is capable of that right now.
No, not with the current injuries. I mean, the Knicks and the Bucks would be the two teams I would say have the best shot at those two, and they're both missing key pieces right now in Brunson and Dame. So
Yeah,
the Pacers, I'm not trying to discredit them. They're definitely a good basketball team. I just don't know if they have the identity that translates to playoff success quite yet. Even though they did show flashes last year, I just think, like you said, those top 2 seeds are too good.
I think they're missing a piece. I don't know what the piece is. They're just missing what they really need.
I don't know what it is either because they have some good young guys even too. We talked the other day about Benedict Mathurin. Like it's a good scorer to have. Obi Toppin stepped up. Andrew Nemhard, remember that last year, is even balling out. Like they've got some nice pieces. I think they're just missing
Like,
Not that Siakam's not this, just a wing that really can score and play elite defense. They're missing that 3-and-D guy
I'm also
with
just not
size.
sold on Miles Turner ever. Miles Turner's been the same guy his whole career, I feel like, and it's never really
He's averaging 6.5 rebounds as their center, which is just not going to work.
like he's always just been that guy that's a good enough center, but ends up in trade talks every year. He's not top 10 center. He's just gonna
Yeah.
be a guy that you can kind of plug in and have chances at winning games,
Mm-hmm.
but he's not gonna be a difference maker really. And Benedict Mathurin, good young guy. I don't know how he fits on this team.
I don't know where he fits in the NBA. I don't know what his future looks like besides just being like a 18 to 20 point per game scorer. I don't know if that's in a winning situation, but we talked about that a little bit the other day when we were texting. I don't know. I think this Pacers team this year, I think will tell a lot about their future, who they have, and what they need. I think this is the year where like they can really figure that out and then decide where to go.
Yeah, no. They like I said, as good as you play right now, it really doesn't matter because you have to play the Cavs or the Celtics. So
Yeah,
they're kind
that
of
is
capped.
true.
Every team's kind of capped at round two right now, in my opinion.
I would agree with that just because those teams are so good. And that is the situation out east, but out west we have a completely different situation. One team that's been on fire out there in particular is the Houston Rockets. They're 9-1 in their last 10. They've made their way up to the 2 seed at 48-26. Not that they're only 6 games ahead of the Timberwolves at 8 right now. Things could definitely shake up still, but Houston's made a jump up to 2. How are you feeling about them?
That's probably the same question I think we had a few weeks ago about them. Still, the playoff jump shots when it comes down to it, of like reliable getting buckets. I don't think they
Yeah.
have the jump shot creation on the team to hit consistently. Jalen Green's been playing out of his mind. He's a guy I still don't know how he progresses. Like, he hasn't shown anything besides being a scorer still.
And even when he is a scorer, he's a scorer for a week or 2 weeks, and then he's not a scorer for a couple weeks. And that's what I said. I remember we talked in one of the earlier episodes in the podcast where I said, I can't trust Jalen Green to be my primary scorer, especially in the playoffs. Same thing stands. And like you said, Amen Thompson is a huge part of this team, but he doesn't have a jump shot. I don't know how he's going to look in the playoffs because it's
Jabari
night and
Smith
day.
too. Like,
Yeah, Jabari Smith.
inconsistent
And
jumper. Jabari Smith is a guy I like a lot, but like you can't rely on his jumper either. And those are their two best defenders.
exactly.
You
You
on the
need them
court.
on the court. Yeah, like you need both of them. They have the size. And then your scores, like we said, Jalen Green inconsistent. Fred VanVleet, you're either going to get like 4 points out of him or you're going to get 35. Like there is no in between with these guys. Fred VanVleet is a guy that's had playoff success, has had championship success. But is he going to lead your team in the playoffs at this point in his career? Probably not. So who is? That's the question for the Rockets. Who is? But they've been playing great basketball. Want to focus on the positive. Şengün's, I'm a huge fan of him. An incredible playmaker. I think he'll be great in the playoffs. It's just, who's going to step up and be the guy that this team can rely on.
Yeah, I think the key part in the playoffs is having a good defense while having a good, consistent offense. And I think for them, they're in a spot where their two best defensive players, even three best, Dylan Brooks, I guess we'll throw in there too, sadly, but are not consistent scorers, where at
Yeah.
times it's going to be hard to have them on the court with your other guys if they're not hitting shots. And you need
Yeah.
those guys out there to protect Fred, Jalen, and Şengün because they're not defensive positives. They need that protection from those guys.
Mm-hmm.
So finding their spots, all the rotations, I think it's going to be tough. But they're peaking right now, and if you're hot going into the playoffs, anything can happen, especially because any matchup, it looks like in the first round for those 2 through 10 seeds that could happen are going to be close games.
Yeah, and we talk about their defense. They're one of 2 teams in the Western Conference holding, 3 teams actually holding their opponents to less than 110 points per game. The only other 2 teams being the Thunder and the Clippers. So they have all the defensive capabilities. It's just I think, contender, quote unquote, there's no question who their go-to reliable guy is that's going to lead the team, scoring every night and play whatever role he needs to. We know that for all these contenders. We know SGA. We know Jokic. Like, even if you go down a little bit more into the Eastern Conference, we know these teams have go-to guys. I don't think that Houston has that. It just depends on the night.
Yeah.
And you can get away with that in the regular season, but a 7-game series where one team is game planning against you every single time, it's going to come out where, all right, who's going to be the guy here? Because I don't know who right now.
Yeah, especially when guys start seeing doubles that aren't used to seeing doubles because that's what the game plan. Jalen Green, I don't know if he's passing out of a double too.
Probably not. Yeah.
But it's inexperience too. They're not the most experienced team outside of Fred and I guess Dylan. And I don't know if Dylan's a net positive or a net negative at the times.
I don't know. It's hard to think clearly when it comes to him just because I don't like him so much. So it's probably better I just leave it. But I think it's the same as the Pacers, where this year will be a really good time to see what you've got, see how you perform in the playoffs, figure out what you're missing, and build from here. Because next year, I'm very worried about Houston. There's not a doubt in my mind they make the right moves this offseason to take that step that we're talking about, to have those guys that you can rely on offensively. Maybe it's a big splash, maybe it's adding little pieces, but I'm not trying to take away from the fact that next year even, 1 year from now, this team will be really scary. I just don't think this year they're going to make noise. Yeah. So Houston's been great, but the question is the same with the Pacers. Who's going to step up? And I think both these teams next year will be a lot more serious. It's just even the teams below them in the West, I think, have their stuff together a little bit more, or they're just more mature. Speaking of the team in the West that doesn't have their stuff together but has the right guys on paper, kind of the opposite situation is the Lakers. They've been terrible. The last 10 games are 4-6. Obviously, they had that insane loss to the Bulls the other night, that insane collapse where LeBron, 3 things in 10 seconds to lose them the game. What do you think about the Lakers? Because I know you hate them a little more than I do, or don't believe them a little more than I do, so I'll let you go first. Give me the negative.
Since injury, Braun hasn't played good since coming back at all, really. I know they had that run in probably end of January, beginning of February, where they won 14 of 16. I wasn't too sold on those games either. I think it's kind of like the Pacers now, or when the Nuggets went on that crazy streak beating sub 500 teams. I think it's just a part of your schedule that you get the easy matchups and you have an easier share of games. Whereas now they've kind of set themselves up in a bad spot, losing games once Braun got hurt. I'm going to be honest, the team with just Luka should still be beating some of the teams they lost to.
And that's what I wanted to focus on. When Luka is leading this team, I feel like for some reason I'm just not scared of them, even with Luka leading that team. And like you said, LeBron, since he's come back, he's played 4 games. He's only put up 20 points in one of those games. That's not LeBron James. Not putting up 20 points at least twice throughout 4 games. Not that he's been playing terrible, but he needs to be playing at LeBron James level. I know he's 40, but if this team wants to be serious, he needs to be LeBron, not old LeBron.
Yeah.
Now is not the time for him to get old. It'll really do them bad in the playoffs, and even for the rest of the regular season. This team could very easily be a 9 seed the next episode.
Yeah, they have 9 games left. 7 of those games are against teams playing for something.
Yeah.
That need. I mean, they have 2 against the Thunder. I don't think the Thunder are really playing for anything, but I don't think the Thunder are going to rest starters at this point, consistently.
Probably not.
I think they want to stay hot going into the playoffs, so I think you're still going to be playing a team that wants to win, and I think they want to get as many wins as possible.
Yeah, like we just said, the scariest part about it is if they don't figure it out, we won't even be talking about them in the playoffs. I don't want to see this Lakers team in the play, and I think they would definitely get out. If we go down to 9, 10, even the Wolves or the Warriors, they could probably manage to beat those teams. But I think they need to do everything they can this next week to not have to worry about that.
Yeah. Games coming up for them. They got Memphis, Houston, Golden State. I mean,
that's tough. That's a tough slate right there.
Memphis, who knows? But Houston and Golden State are going to be tough games, guaranteed. because both of those teams are playing to keep their spots.
Right. And speaking of Memphis, that was the next team we wanted to talk about. Crazy news yesterday. They just fired Taylor Jenkins out of nowhere.
Yeah.
We texted right when it happened. What do you think now that it's been a day and we've had some time to digest it?
No, I still don't understand the move one bit. I understand maybe if you don't want this guy coaching or you don't think he's the coach to get them over the hump. I understand that part. You
Right.
wait until after the season to fire someone at that point. You don't do it with 9 games to go to playoffs.
Right. That was the biggest thing for me was the timing. And Taylor Jenkins has had his success. If you count this year, he'd have brought this team to the playoffs 4 out of his 6 years coaching there. If that's put you in a position where you can get fired in game 70 something, who is safe? I mean, I don't watch the Grizzlies that much. I don't like them that much. Honestly, I don't like watching John Morant play. It's not exciting for me.
He
Don't
doesn't
like
do
the
it
guy
too
that
often
much.
anyway.
Yeah, I don't watch them all that much. I'm in the position where I think as a fan, it's really hard to properly evaluate a coach because we only see a very small part of what a coach does. I think out of all parts of an NBA organization, a coach probably has the hardest scorecard for a fan to sit there and say they're good or they're bad. It's easy to look at what the team's doing, but does that necessarily reflect the coach every time? No. We don't see what's going on in the locker room. We don't see how they hold practice. We don't know how these guys talk about them. We don't know what relationship the players have with the coach outside of basketball. And all those things matter. That's what makes a coach great and great for your culture. I get really bothered when fans are like, his rotation sucks, so he's a bad coach. That's the answer every time. I need something besides that.
Yeah. And even then, like outside looking in, even if we don't know anything going on, if you look at how this Grizzlies team has like the games played by players and how they never have a consistent team because everybody's on off getting hurt.
Mm-hmm.
They're the 5 seed right now, tied for the 4 seed. Dealing with that, that's you got to look at that as a coach overachieving with what he has.
Exactly, and that's what I had said earlier today is last year even this Memphis team has been banged up, and it's been hard, I think, from a coaching perspective. I saw some people complaining that his rotations were inconsistent or he'd have the young guys in and then ignore them for a stint. I think it's a little bit hard when, A, your franchise player is flatlined. I know Ja's been playing great as of late, but this season he's been really inconsistent. He didn't play last year. So you can't really have him consistently in the picture when you're trying to build this identity and culture. And then you have half the team out. Not even, was it last year or was it 2 years ago where the Grizzlies had like nobody on their roster?
I think it was last year.
It was just last year, right?
Yeah.
So you have that last year, and then everyone comes back this year. Some guys are taking leaps. I would imagine it's hard to figure out who plays and what role everybody has. I don't think that gets figured out overnight. But I don't really know if you deserve to be fired having brought that team to the playoffs 4 out of your 6 years, given that you're dealing with a whole different roster than you were dealing with last year.
Yeah, no, I don't. It's weird to me. I think he's a good coach, just from outside looking in. Obviously, he looks like a good coach. I can understand an organization wanting to fire a guy who hasn't gotten them over the hump, but there's other.
Not now.
The GM didn't they haven't made big splashes for anybody after their playoff success.
It's been the same team.
Jalen Wells was a 2nd-round pick and has probably been their second best player consistently this season at this point. He's the only guy that plays consistently along with either Jaren or Ja.
Exactly, and Jaren Jackson's taken a little bit of a leap, but they need some help. Obviously, having Zach Edey, that helps a bit. I mean, there's guys that they've added through the draft that have definitely helped. Gigi Jackson's helped. Scottie Pippen Jr., I know the guy from the Lakers, he's helped. But they haven't got anyone that's established from another team to fill that hole. And I don't think you can just chalk all this up to Taylor Jenkins. It's not fair.
I think the GM has played a part in this. I mean, they got Marcus Smart for a lot and then gave him away for nothing.
I don't understand it.
That's a swing and miss. That's not on Taylor.
Yeah, and how is this team supposed to go into the playoffs now with a complete coaching change like that? Even if, you should have just seen what they were going to do in this playoffs, because now there's no way to judge it. You're giving them, 10 games left, 20 games less, somewhere in between there, to go figure out a new coach and get ready for the playoffs. That's going to be better than just letting Taylor Jenkins rock out.
I also think it's hard to let. I feel like as the players, it's going to be easy to check out now mentally.
Yeah, I mean
The
it's
coach just
hard,
got
and
fired with 9 games left. You got to think the organization's willing to do anything.
yeah, and I look at it from the sense of like a coach is a lot more than the guy that just stands there and makes subs and calls the plays.
Yeah,
Like a
no.
coach is the heart of a team, a heart of a culture, and losing that is going to affect way more than the basketball, like you just said.
Like we saw
And
Mike
I,
Brown get fired and the
yeah,
effects it had on the
exactly,
Kings mid-season.
exactly. And we don't want to see that same thing happen in Memphis because they built that momentum, and it just feels weird to kind of put a pause on it at this point, right before the playoffs. So. NBA coaching cycle in general, I've hated it for years. If you don't win a championship, you're useless. If you don't get a team from 10 wins to 70 wins in a year, you're useless. There's no time to build the culture. There's no time to really work on developing guys. I mean, you've got to go now or you're just going to get kicked out.
Yeah, I think he'll be a hot commodity on the market come this
Yeah,
offseason.
for
Though.
sure. I'm not worried about him finding another job. I'm just like, I wouldn't want to be a coach in the NBA knowing that, all right, if I don't do it this season, even though I only had a terrible team last year to work with, I'm gone.
Yeah, coaches need to have time to implement their system and really run it through. You can't
Yeah.
decide that in a short span. And he implemented his system, ran it through, and they were making the playoffs consistently. Injuries have changed that for 1 year, and now they're back in top 4 seed contention in
Mm-hmm.
that health. Not even healthy, still in that with everybody being hurt. I just don't see how you got like a GM, an owner could look at that. And,
I don't know.
I
So
don't know, really
I
makes no
think
sense
everyone
to
was
me.
surprised. That was the whole reaction I saw on social media. Some people were trying to justify it. Like I said before, my biggest thing is as a fan, it just don't sit there and act like you know if a coach is good or bad based on what you watch in the game. Because most of the time you're not even paying attention to the coach. Just because your favorite player gets subbed out when you don't like it doesn't mean he's got bad rotations. So that bothers me a lot. That was something I wanted to address. While we're in the Western Conference and we're talking about these teams in that 5 to 9 range, there's a battle for this sixth spot to stay out of the play-in. The teams in that hunt, I would say, I would say it's everyone 2 through 8 that could end up in this spot battling for the 6th seed. All it
Probably,
takes is a bad 3-game losing streak.
yeah.
So who do you think ends up above that 6-2 range, and then who do you think is a play-in team based on what we're seeing right now?
I personally would I imagine the Grizzlies have to fall just because
Yeah.
of all this going on. They
Yeah.
probably drop a few spots. And then if we slip there, I think the Clippers will slip up. The Warriors haven't really been selling me recently either. I know Steph was hurt, but they didn't look good yesterday.
No, they did not at all. I watched that game. I don't know why I chose to watch that game, but I did watch that game. It's kind of sad how much they need Steph at this point, even with Jimmy out there. Like, Jimmy's been good, but Jimmy is not going to lead you to wins consistently. I've always said that.
And I don't really think there's fear of either of those 9, 10 teams doing anything. There's a battle for the 10 seed also, but
I mean, Phoenix is going to get up there. They've been playing
you'd
decent.
imagine so, but they've also lost some crazy games.
Yeah, and Phoenix, again, that's a team where, like, might as well make the push. I mean, there's nothing else. If they don't make it, it's not like they're in a better position for next season or anything like that. You spent your money. You've got rid of your picks. You got to do something. And, I mean, like I said in the last episode, a team led by Kevin Durant, I think anything's possible. So they can
Yeah,
make that push too. What
the
about,
West
like,
just has a lot of battles.
Minnesota?
I think they could even make a run to the 4 spot. Minnesota there.
Because they've been playing decent. Julius Randle kind of caught some momentum finally. They just beat Phoenix. They lost to the Pacers. I mean, they've been losing some gimme games a little bit, but that's a team where just last year, conference finals. I mean, this team is good. Now they have Julius Randle. If Naz Reid can step up, they can really do something too. I think the Clippers in this range are the team I'm taking the most seriously because they've looked great with Kawhi, 8-2 in their last 10. You weren't as sold when I said they were like a dark horse pick, I think, to make a conference finals. What do you think now, having seen them with Kawhi a little bit?
I think they're better than I expected, but I don't think this range of teams is as good as they appear based on record. I think a lot of these teams have major flaws. I think the Clippers are still one of those teams with a major flaw, and they've gotten hot at the right time, which is another thing. I think this last push comes down to who gets hot at the right time. The Lakers got cold at the wrong time. The Rockets got hot at the right time to kind of move themselves up and into safety more so.
Yeah.
A lot of these teams just have to pray they get hot at the right time. I think the Clippers have been playing better than the teams around them and are probably more comfortable with their consistent rotation than the teams around them.
Yeah.
And their coaching than some of the teams around them. So I would probably take them over some of these teams, but I don't think they have what it takes to beat still the Thunder or the Nuggets currently in a 7-game series. Definitely not the Thunder. I watched them play a close game versus the Thunder with no J-Dub or Chet playing.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the Thunder. I think they could maybe give the Nuggets a little bit of a run. I mean, like anything that comes down to containing Jokic a bit. Okay, so let's do this real quick. Who do you think end of season is 1 through 6? What teams do you think make that cut? You give yours, I'll give mine.
Thunder, I'll move the Nuggets into the 2. I think they get hot to end the year. I think that's what experienced teams do. I imagine the Rockets could probably hold their spot. They've created enough of a gap, so they're the 3. I'm going to drop the Lakers here. I'm going to move the T-Wolves up and the Clippers up. So
okay.
T-Wolves 4, Clippers 5, and that 6 seed, I'm between Golden State or the Lakers. I know the Lakers have a tough schedule down the stretch. I don't know about Golden State, so I'll move Golden State up into that 6.
All right, that's fair enough. It's kind of similar-ish to what I have here. I would say I have obviously the Thunder at the 1. 2 seed, I also agree. I think Denver will get hot. And, I mean, one thing with Jokic, I was talking to my dad about this morning. It's really crazy that Jokic is going to be averaging a triple-double with such crazy efficiency, and this guy's not going to win MVP.
It's going to have a 30-point triple-double, too. It's not even
like, I'm not trying to get into the MVP debate because I know we've done that, but I just, putting up those stats and not being an MVP is so insane. So insane. And it's a shame because that will hold so much weight in his all-time ranking as a guy that could potentially be a top 10 player ever. One more MVP would do so much for him, and he's not going to get it in a year. He's averaging a 30-point triple-double. But I digress. So I have Thunder, Nuggets. I think the 3 seed will end up being the Clippers, actually. I think they're going to get some good momentum. I really like what I see from them with Kawhi. Zoo's been great. I think he's such an underrated center. He'll go get his 10 rebounds, and he'll score the ball if he needs to. So I got Thunder, Nuggets, Clippers, and then from there, I would say the Rockets would be at 4. At 5, I would go with the Timberwolves. And then 6, it really is Lakers or Warriors. And strength of schedule makes me lean Golden State. Do you, by chance, have Golden State's next few games?
I could pull it up real quick and look at it because, we know the Lakers get stuck playing teams playing for something. So let's see here.
And one of the biggest concerns for the Lakers, the Clippers kind of have the same situation, is the Lakers struggle a lot on the road. They're 16-20 on the road. They're one of 2 teams in this top 7 that have a bad away record.
The Warriors, I wouldn't say have the easiest schedule. They also have Memphis. They have that game versus the Lakers. They have Denver. They have Houston. And they have the Suns who are playing for something. But they have 2 games versus San Antonio, a game versus Portland, and then game 82 versus the Clippers, which could mean everything or could mean nothing for one of them.
Interesting. So it's similar schedule.
I'd say they have more gimmies on their schedule with 2 games versus San Antonio and a game versus Portland where a team's going to give you those.
Yeah, wow. I don't... You went with the Warriors?
This Thursday game, Lakers versus Warriors, is probably going to play a very key part into how it all goes down.
I will be sad for it, for sure. I think it'll be probably the Lakers. And I say that just because of how bad the Warriors are without Steph. I just think it tells a little bit more about their team. I just think they're significantly worse without Steph as compared to even the Lakers without LeBron. I'm a little bit more confident in them than I am with the Jimmy-led Warriors. Not that I'm expecting anyone to be hurt. I just am looking at, who's relying on somebody a lot more. And to me, that's the Warriors.
Yeah, and if some guys are going to end up getting rest to get healthy into the playoffs, like some of these guys aren't going to play all 9 of these games.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say the Warriors. So I had Thunder, Nuggets, Clippers, Rockets, Warriors, or Wolves, Warriors. That was the top 6 I predict. So we'll see how that shakes up. I'm actually kind of really happy that there's a race for these last few games. I hate when the last chunk of the season is pointless for like most of the league. It is unbearable. But it is always fun when you have those times where like Theo Pinson will play and drop a triple double in
Game
game
82
82.
is the worst day on earth.
It's the worst and the best. Like
for like basketball purist, it is the worst thing ever. But for someone who's just gonna like tune in and watch just guys chuck and random stat lines happen, it's great.
I'm excited to see it. Maybe we'll see a guy like Philip Wheeler go play some good basketball.
I can't believe he's on the roster. No offense, Philip.
Yes.
But
I want to touch on that real quick. That is now, I guess we're counting Scotty in there.
Scotty was in the NBA at a point.
I've played 2 NBA players in my career now, officially. You never played Philip, but you played 2 as well.
Yeah.
Scotty and Nas.
Scotty.
You played a real deal Nas Reed. But yeah, Philip Wheeler signed a 10-day with the Sixers. That's a Jersey guy. Played against him in high school. Was always scared of some sort of putback dunk. Not that I was playing crazy minutes, obviously, but I remember playing, and I just kept trying to find him over my shoulder because I was like, I really don't want to get jumped over. Overtime's right there. Ball is life is right there. I don't want to get jumped over.
The one video of him.
Chill. We know people around there. Don't say that.
I'm just saying, bro. That is one of the meanest posters I think I've seen.
I'm sure a lot of people have seen it. The clip of they probably don't know it's Philip Wheeler, but
no, but like that was a clip that definitely popped off and was viral at the time, just because like he threw it down rough. It had every element of a mean poster.
I always wonder why did he jump, because there was no effort on the ball. He just said posterize me, like that was all that was.
Yeah. That was
so. I thought that was cool though to see someone local get a 10-day. That's always fun to see. New Jersey basketball guys do good. So now that we're talking about specific players, there's one player that we never see in the media. We never see really speak out. LeBron James goes on the Pat McAfee show, and he just grabbed his guns and started shooting a little bit. I wasn't expecting it, but. What did you think? I mean, seeing him even on that set looked so weird.
I'm 50-50 on how I feel about it. Like, the Stephen A. stuff, I understand more. I think
we'll get into that. That's a whole.
I think at one point he was just kind of trying to crack jokes, like bringing up Windhorst and stuff, talking about like he thinks he's my best friend or something. Like Bron's been caught in the past saying Windhorst is most likely the guy who knows what's going on around me. I think he was at that point just trying to crack some jokes. But yeah, wild. I think everything that came to light is insane, and like, it's so weird to me seeing Bron even post that video of Stephen A. boxing and then the meme after on Instagram, like just crazy.
And I've seen people say like, "Oh yeah, he's retiring soon because now he's not caring." Which I agree. The whole thing with Wendy. That bothered me a lot, especially because in his response, Wendy was kind of like, LeBron owes me nothing. He's a great guy for the community, and like I'm very clear where I stand in his life. Like, there was no reason to say that about him. Stephen A. for sure, that guy deserves it. I mean, that guy talks so reckless.
Yeah.
As someone that wants to be in the media, that's obviously what I went to school for. I've done it. I've had experience doing it. Interviewed some really cool guys. There's lines, and there's being a human being, and things that should just be common sense. Stephen A. bringing up or trying to bring up like Kobe's funeral, or if you would have done the podcast with Kobe, like bringing someone that's passed away into it, you don't deserve to be a face in the media if that's the shots or the angles you're taking.
Nah, Stephen A's always been a guy I found a little just weird the way he goes about things. I understand it's for content a lot, but I personally have a big line between what's content and what's just weird behavior.
And bringing up dead people is you're jumping over.
That's really weird. Like I don't. The original stuff, the original issue of like the Bronny stuff and Stephen A. speaking out, I don't think that crossed any lines, to be honest.
No, that was whatever. I mean,
I think Bron was being a dad in that moment, and that's something that was kind of just like Braun had to have expected it beforehand. He probably just got annoyed with it at some point that people kept talking about Bronny.
Yeah.
But that's something that you knew was going to happen. Like, it was just kind of like the circus in town for that all happening, of
Yeah.
Bronny getting drafted 58 to the Lakers, telling nobody else to take him and stuff like that. Like, that was all going to happen. He wasn't
Yeah.
a polished prospect coming in. Obviously, he was going to get some ripped on. 58 pick probably was over ripped on still, but I don't think that
Yeah.
crossed
And
the
I mean,
line.
I've ripped on him a lot too. I'm not really sold on Bronny, but that's all fine. That's just really basketball. Maybe you talk a little bit about the nepotism, but when nepotism is happening and LeBron's like has his hand in who's drafting, whatever, like yeah, there's gonna be comments. But once he brought up, I mean, once the Kobe thing got brought up, I thought like, man, this is not. There's no place for this, and this is why people don't respect the media or take it seriously because things like this happen for no reason.
Once the fighting thing got brought up to me, it went crazy, bro. Like, what are you
Yeah,
talking about?
that would never. First of all, that would never ever happen. LeBron would never get physical, especially in the public eye, especially with a loser like
It
Stephen
was
A.
the third quarter.
Yeah, and
He said if he would have
second,
laid a hand on me or something, like, I know Stephen A. admitted, like, oh, he would have beat my ass and stuff. But what are you saying? Why do you
yeah,
think that would have happened?
there's no world where that would happen. And if it did happen, if LeBron did decide to hit Stephen A, he'd probably knock his head clean off his shoulders, and there would be no fight.
Like,
Like,
talking about if he put a hand on me, I'd hit him. No, you wouldn't have.
yeah, you probably wouldn't have been able to. Your head would have spun in a circle, and that'd have been that, like a Looney Tune, and that'd have been that. But
He's been on
it's
the
just
press
weird.
tour sits. I can't. Like,
Yeah.
stuff like that is weird to me.
And I think it's just so harmful for basketball media when it's not about basketball. It's not about talking about the game, analyzing the game. It's just drama. Like it's like a reality TV show. Like it's like Real Housewives of the NBA, and it ruins the legitimacy of the media, and it makes people hate the sport. I mean, it really does.
No, I've always had
So
an issue with the media. We've definitely talked about it before. I don't like that type of media. I don't like when, like, I don't think they should be doing things for content and having kind of characters that they play into. I
no,
think that's a
it's
lot.
not a TV. It's not. It's not. It's supposed to be just real. Like it's not. It's not fiction. Like this is a real thing. These
Like,
are real humans doing their job.
you should not be getting on ESPN just chatting about nothing every day because it plays into your character. Like, you have to have some sort of consistent knowledge you're talking about.
Mhm.
To be like, I feel like that's something that was just done away with recently, where now that's all ESPN and those things are, where it's to me unwatchable, but it still gets clicks and stuff because people like drama like that.
And why is Perk getting involved in this, saying like, "Oh, yeah, LeBron unfollowed me, so I blocked him"? Do you think he cares? Do you think
No,
anyone cares? Especially like Perk. Like, I don't understand why random people are trying to just throw themselves into LeBron James' life like he cared.
yeah, bro, I blocked LeBron's number too. Like, what are we even talking about? What?
It makes no sense. Like, especially it's like if he unfollowed you, like, do you think he then do you think LeBron was waiting to text you, Perk? Do you think LeBron was like, shoot, I can't text Perk anymore. What am I gonna do? No one
No.
cares. But it just bothers me. I hope one day we reach a space where the media is a basketball conversation and it's not drama and BS.
It's just insane.
Wishful
situations
thinking,
all
though.
around. Stephen A's got to stop this press tour. That's all I know. He's got to stop going on podcasts bringing this up, bro. Just, this is his Super Bowl.
Exactly.
He also said
And
something crazy of like, when you retire, I won't be talking about you about Braun or something. Then Stephen A, this has been your whole thing for years. What are you going to talk about?
exactly. And you could talk about Michael Jordan, who has not been in the NBA in over 20 years. He gets brought up once a week. And
Yeah,
we've got he's better. LeBron's better. I mean, we've got the real GOAT right here. You're not going to talk about him. Do you think he's also just going to step away from the NBA? LeBron's not going anywhere.
no, he's probably going to buy a team and be more involved, and then that's going to
Exactly.
spark so many more.
And
problems.
also, I mean, he can say when he's not playing, I'm sure the filter will come off a little bit like we saw. And I don't know. I just wanted to address it as, when we made this podcast, we brought in the business side from you and the media side from me. As someone that is in that space or aspires to be in that space, I am not proud of what it is right now. And I really hope it gets fixed, hopefully by the time I'm in it, because I wouldn't be okay with, one thing I learned when I had a relationship with one of the Nets journalists, and He told me there's times where you get a question that you have to ask. It could be uncomfortable. It could have nothing to do with basketball, and you have to ask it, or they will find someone that will. And this was happening when the whole Kyrie anti-vax
Yep.
and him posting all that stuff was going on. And he had been told he had to ask Kyrie a question that he knew was gonna, fire things up, make Kyrie upset. But he was told, if you don't ask it, somebody will.
Yeah.
So your job is to do what you are told and ask questions that are inhumane at times, and I don't want to be in that position.
No, I don't know. The media's been going that way for a while. I'm not a fan. It's regarding like everything in life. People just love drama. That's what gets clicks. I wish it was different. I don't know if it ever will be at this point, but for sports, that shouldn't be the focus.
It shouldn't. And like an example of that, the same guy, the Nets journalist, told me, he was doing a story on Patty Mills starting a basketball league on this small island, like near his home, whatever, to bring basketball there because it didn't really exist and they wanted it there. And that was a story he was working on. That probably will never make a news cycle. And this
No.
guy is bringing basketball to a place that doesn't exist to grow the game. And we're sitting here talking about like the color of people's underwear each game. Like it doesn't make any sense. So
No.
there's stories to be told that are worth it and that are humans being good and genuine and helping other people. And I hope that that's what makes it. Because I don't even like that we're talking about this. I don't know how long we've talked about this, but it's stupid. Like, why is this happening? There's such good basketball going on. The playoffs are coming, and we're talking about Stephen A. Smith and LeBron. But that's what everyone's talking about. I mean, we have to.
It's definitely odd. I would like to bring up Braun for one more thing real quick.
Go ahead.
We don't
I'll
have
always
this
talk
written
about
down.
LeBron.
I saw a lot of people hating on the choice of the Mind the Game, Steve Nash being the other
Good
co-host.
point. Yeah.
Maybe because Steve Nash had a terrible coaching career with the Nets or something.
That was like
People
an
do
impractical
realize
joke.
Steve Nash is a great basketball mind. Like he's a two-time MVP, one of the
Yeah.
smartest minds in basketball ever.
Yes, him coaching the Nets, I view as like impractical joke. Oh, actually, wait, not
No, don't bring them
not
into this.
yeah. Sorry, not them. As like a dare of like, hey, go coach the Nets and see what happens. And it was a joke. Like I don't think Steve Nash's tenure with the Nets. I don't reflect on it as a serious thing. It was like that was a mess. That whole situation with the Nets was a mess. We love that podcast though, so I'm glad it's back. But yeah, to act like Steve Nash is just some Joe Schmo sitting up there is weird.
I just saw it get a lot of hate, and I didn't really understand why. I think there's like some of the people guys were recommending for it just made no sense in terms of what the podcast is.
Yeah, not at all. I mean,
I
JJ
think-
was the perfect guy.
I think Nash is a good guy for it. I think maybe next year Chris Paul, if he retires, would be a great guy for it. I think Chris
Yeah.
Paul and LeBron going back and forth would be the greatest set of basketball knowledge ever, probably.
There's a lot of good guys. I mean, like another guy that came to mind was like Rondo. There's a lot of young guys even that like on the young man in the three, what it is now, that like to talk basketball for real.
Yeah.
And I think it would be cool to have that eventually. But that was one of my favorite podcasts when it was out with LeBron and JJ. Like that was something special. So to have it back, I'm thankful. I mean, Steve Nash, like you said, 2-time MVP, one of the greatest point guards ever. Yeah, let's hear what he has to say.
Yeah, I felt like it got so much hate, and I wanted to bring that up because I definitely think the Nets' tenure tainted how people look at him, but let's not forget what he is.
Yeah, that was a joke. Don't take that seriously. Don't take any of that Brooklyn time seriously. That was just literally that was drama.
KD
That was
and
not,
Kyrie wanted him there to be a friend. He didn't want
Yeah.
to be a coach.
that was a mess. So I'm happy to see that podcast back. We got some time to talk about a couple of controversial things going on, like the DPOY race. Defensive Player of the Year in 2025. Do you think that's Draymond Green? Because that's
No.
what the books say.
I don't, and I don't know why he's the favorite at this point. He's been the favorite ever since he said it publicly that he should be the winner.
Came out of nowhere.
Crazy to me. I guess a 10-game sample size is bigger than the Mobley 70-game sample size at this point. Like, Draymond was doing it all year, but there's a lot more downside. Like, there were lower points for the Warriors and Draymond's defensive impact than there have been for Mobley at all this season.
Yeah,
And Mobley's
and-
been more consistent, top level all year.
I'm trying to remember. Remember when we talked about Wemby and we had the blood clot and that came out? We had said that the DPOY race was pretty much. Did we not say it was in Mobley's hands to win?
I
Like,
think at that time it might have been Jaren's hands, but I don't think
yeah, that
Jaren's
was
going
my
to
question. It was
qualify.
him or Jaren, but Draymond was not a name we even said in that
I
conversation.
don't think if I had to make a list, Draymond wouldn't be top three for me, to be honest.
I would probably put Mobley, Dyson Daniels. I mean
I'd put
that's a
Dyson,
lot for top
Mobley,
three.
and then just because of how great the Thunder defense has been, I'd either put J Dub or Dort or like one of them, just because like that defense has been all around probably one of the best defenses we've seen in a while.
And J Dub did play the five for a little bit of a stint, and
Yeah,
I mean, held it down. I wouldn't say thrived, but for a guy that's traditionally a 3-4, played the five fine.
yeah, no,
So yeah, I agree. We've had our disagreements, you and I, about Draymond over the years. I was a Warriors fan when I first got into basketball 10 years ago, or I mean, almost 15 at this point, whatever. The Warriors got me into it. I've always loved Draymond as a player for his energy. I hate the dirty stuff. I hate the whole thing that happened with Cat. So I'm kind of off Draymond in general. I'm not gonna go support his DPOY, campaign. It's Evan Mobley. I mean, that's what it is. Or it's Dyson Daniels. It's not Draymond Green. I know the numbers say he's playing great defense, and I'm not saying he's a bad defender. Him being able to be this good of a defender does a lot for this Warriors team. But does he deserve DPOY now because he campaigned for himself? No.
no. I think him campaigning for himself is the only reason he's there. He has more PR than the other guys. I also don't
Yeah.
think like I'm not a fan of when players campaign for themselves publicly too often mid-season. Like it's weird to me. It throws
It,
me for a loop the wrong way. Like I feel like you never see a lot of the greats campaigning for themselves like while it's happening. Maybe after the fact, being like I should have won if we look back. Like yeah, but they're like while it's happening, I don't think we've ever seen a guy who ends up fully deserving it doing that.
yeah, that's a fair enough point. I don't know if I necessarily feel a way about it. I just don't think it should affect anything really, like as drastically as it just did.
I
Um,
think that it does. It just does because you're campaigning yourself in the media and they get the votes.
yeah,
And a guy speaking versus a guy not speaking, that's you're gonna people are gonna get roped into the guy that's vocal about it more often than not.
and which is weird because Draymond is vocal a lot, and most of the time he probably should not be. Um, Let me ask you this question real quick. So, say Draymond does win Defensive Player of the Year this year. Now we look at his resume. We have a four-time All-Star, two-time All-NBA, eight-time All-Defense, four-time champ with two DPOYs. What does that do for him all time? Like, where is Draymond all time? Because two DPOYs, four rings, eight All-Defense. I mean, that's a pretty good resume. It's
It's
just his
definitely a
numbers
good
outside of
resume. It's just I don't know where he ends up falling at all in terms of just a ranking. Because I don't think he's a better player than a lot. We'll just break it down to power forwards, I guess, with him. Like I think it's a stacked position, and I don't think he's better than a lot of those guys.
Can we also point out his career averages right now, as they stand, is 9, 7, and 5.
Yeah,
This dude's got an
like
area code as his averages, so I don't know if he ranks high, but like it's one of those guys where, in his prime, like Draymond was a huge part of that dynasty.
yeah. If we look back, there's probably a lot of teams that got guys into the Hall of Fame pretty easily. Like those Celtics teams definitely had guys that were kind of probably putting up those type of numbers randomly and just being key contributors to always winning, which
Yeah,
that's what he has been. But I think that's why I separate greatness from being like the best. Greatness is your all of it put together, accolades and everything winning versus
yeah,
being a great player. I look at them different, and I
yeah.
think
No,
he
for
has more
sure.
greatness than he is a great player. He is a great player, but his greatness severely outweighs that when it
Like his ability, you're saying.
yeah, like yeah.
Okay, that's fair enough. But like Draymond, I'm looking here. I didn't even know this. 2015-16 season, he finished seventh in MVP voting. Team success playing a large part. I mean, but this is a guy that during their dynasty was a huge part of it, and he's a great playmaker for a power forward. Is a guy that's averaged, almost he averaged 9 assists one year. I mean, the guy is a great player to plug in and get you wins. But Draymond Green, I would have loved to see at some point in his career, Draymond go be like an offensive option somewhere where he was a top 2-3 option. I don't know what that would have looked like. I mean, Draymond has said himself he was a scorer before the NBA. Like, he was not this kind of guy. But I was just curious what his ranking would look like with another DPOY because his resume is so weird. His numbers are so weird. But we know how good Draymond Green is.
Yeah. I also kind of a knock on him. I feel like anytime Steph is not playing, Draymond looks lost. Like, he doesn't even care to be out there.
Yeah, but he's publicly said, like, without Steph, I would not have had this career.
No, I agree. He wouldn't have, but I just think I don't know. He doesn't make an influence unless Steph is on the court half the time. It's like he's mentally checked out of those games when he's not. And
that's why I said, I'd like to see what he looks like without Steph, or what his career would look like without Steph, or where he's playing like a role that relies on Draymond Green solely.
Yeah. It's just, if he gets
I've got to look back
it is
on
what
like
it is, but
I wonder what our children will say when they look at like Draymond Green. Like, what are they going to think of Draymond Green? 10, 20 years from now when we have kids. Not 20, 10 years from now. What will they think? I don't know.
I don't think a young child will be asking me about Draymond. Maybe 20 years.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not putting a number on when I'm going to have children either. But yeah, that's a guy where I think you had to be there to kind of understand his impact and who he was as a player. It's going to be really hard to look back at Draymond Green and effectively say what he did for the Warriors.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think he deserves this DPOY. I'm going to be honest, I don't even know if he should be an All-NBA first teamer. If I really thought about it, I think it'd be hard to get him on there.
Defense first teamer?
Yeah, I think he'd be fighting for that 5 spot on like the last spot, if anything. And magically he's the favorite for DPOY. I don't know.
It is weird, but everything goes right and Wemby is healthy going forward. We won't have to really be debating DPOY. That guy will have it probably almost every year. So there's one more thing I wanted to talk about before we end this episode. I haven't talked about these guys in a bit. The Charlotte Hornets, LaMelo Ball is out for the season. He's going to have 2 minor procedures to fix some of his injuries, and we will not see him play another game this season. I have gotten a notification that LaMelo Ball will be out for the season way, way too many times. This guy's in year 5. I've got this notification how many times? Like 3. And it's ridiculous at this point. My question for you as a non-Hornets fan, what do you think? Because I want to give my perspective a little more in depth. So what do you think as someone outside looking in?
Outside looking in, if I'm them, I would probably look to move on from him, to be honest, at this point. Shop him, get as much value as you can. You still can. I mean, the past 3 seasons, he played 36, 22, 47 games.
Barely adding up to 82 in 3 years.
There's no reliability there, and you kind of need that from your star. I don't know. I would just look to get as much value as you can. He's a good player, and you might not get a better player, but I don't know how the team looks with him going forward if we can't guarantee 50 games a year.
Yeah, and he hasn't looked like himself in quite some time. I would say at least a month or 2. Even when he is out there, it doesn't look like him. I couldn't tell if it was him being hurt or him being like actually just checked out and not wanting to be in Charlotte anymore. That's what I was assuming. I'm happy he's getting the surgery because it's clear he's not himself. The question is, did he play his last game in a Hornets uniform? I don't know. I would say before this season, I wasn't even thinking about a future without LaMelo. It wasn't on my mind at all. It was, this is our franchise guy. He's going to come back. He's going to be healthy. We're going to get things going. If we were to move on from him, I would be comfortable with it if we were to secure someone in this draft, which we should, that can kind of replace him, and we can go with that guy and Brandon Miller and Mark Williams and Miles Bridges and kind of fill it out from there. If we get Dylan Harper, goodbye, LaMelo. I don't care. See ya. It was nice having you. That's it. If we're in a position where we don't land either Cooper, Ace, Dylan, or VJ, I'm not happy because those are the 4 guys I think could maybe replace him and kind of keep our momentum. I don't want to say momentum. Get some momentum going towards success. But, obviously LaMelo is one of my favorite players. This guy right here. But at the same time, I don't want to sit here miserable just having him on the roster to say my favorite player's on the roster and we win 3 games every year.
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely a tough spot for Hornets fans because he is exciting to watch.
Super, and when he's healthy and when he's like playing good basketball, he's one of the best players in the NBA. I'll stand on that. He's all NBA first team talent when he's healthy. He'll go put up for a good opening chunk of this season. I want to say the first few months when he was healthy, he was top 5 in points per game. He was averaging like 30 points per game for a good chunk of this season to start. And when that's LaMelo Ball, that's a winning player to me, and that's a franchise piece. But since he's came back and he hasn't looked like himself, I can't sit here and say we got to keep him. I don't have enough to say that.
Also, LaMelo at this point might be a bigger defensive liability than Luka just because LaMelo for some reason fouls nonstop.
Yes, LaMelo is one of the biggest defensive liabilities in the league, and he's the CEO of a frustration foul. If he doesn't feel like he got the whistle, he's going to go just punch somebody and then call the ref whatever he wants to call them. Just degrade the ref, and that's it. So there's a lack of maturity there. It's just, I don't know where he goes. There's teams like Houston, there's teams like Orlando that could definitely use a guy like LaMelo, could use a guy that can come score and shoot. But, health is the question, and what can we get back, and what do we add in this draft? Like I said, right now, with everything, Cooper Flag is my number 1 priority. Dylan Harper is my number 2 priority. And I would honestly put VJ as my 3rd because I think he fits really well into what we've got going on. So if we're moving on from Melo, those lottery balls need to fall in the right order because we are screwed if we move on from LaMelo and we don't get a franchise player.
Yeah, no, I mean, you should, even if you move on from him, ignoring the draft pick, keep your draft pick, you should still be able to get a solid return for a 23, 24-year-old who's on a 5-year deal. Like, he's under contract. They're not going to have to negotiate a contract with the new cap. Like, he's locked in making sub 45 the next 4 years, basically.
Yeah, and obviously, if we do move on, I wish all the best. I really hope we didn't watch his last game in the Hornets uniform. I did watch his last game against Orlando, so I'm glad I at least saw it, if that is the case. I did watch the whole game. So, yeah, I mean, it's sad. I don't want that to happen. Like I said, it wasn't something that was ever even on my mind. And now that I'm looking here and I feel like I have to decide between, do we want to keep LaMelo or do we want to just rebuild it with this draft? We're lucky that this draft has, I would say, multiple franchise players. Because if this was last year, I don't know what I'd be doing right now. Probably just crying and not watching the Hornets. That's what I'm doing right now anyway. Yeah. That guy last night played very well, but we just wasted a 6th pick. Whatever. He's a rookie still. That's fine. Like I said, I'm not huge on giving up on guys so early. We wasted a 6th pick. Man, completely. Well, there's no reason we shouldn't have Matas on our team right now. Because that was my guy. And look at him in Chicago. I mean, man, we wasted it.
He's been hooping.
And that's what bothers me the most. We wasted it.
I think the future with LaMelo kind of up in the air. Definitely some things to weigh. Don't they have somewhat new of ownership now? Their ownership is somewhat new in Charlotte. They could be looking to make a change. Who knows?
And that's what I think it is. I think they feel like they inherited a situation that they didn't build. So I don't think they're married to having LaMelo here.
No, probably not.
I don't think they care that much. They're probably tired of him not playing, making all this money. Off the court, he's really kind of not a mature guy. I mean, there's a lot where I could see from someone that is paying the guy, be like, I don't want to be paying the guy. I don't want to be relying on this kid really to be turning my franchise around, because he's not like Cade where he's, head down, let's do this. I'm turning this franchise around. That's not LaMelo. So I get
No.
it, but I just don't want to see it. If it does happen, I'm going to be really upset. All the things I'm saying right now doesn't change that.
Yeah, maturity wise, he's no Cade. I'd say he's closer to an Ant. And Ant wins, so Ant gets a break by his
And
team
Ant's
just because
healthy,
he
and Ant plays
wins.
defense. So
Yeah, so it's just a young, immature guy who hasn't been able to stay healthy and makes a lot of money.
yeah, so I get it. I'm from an objective standpoint, I get it. I just don't want to see it. Like, he's so fun to watch, man. I'm not ready for it if it does happen, but hopefully it gets healthy and we'll see where it goes from there. I think that kind of covers everything this episode. We're at an hour here. I did not even realize that.
Yep.
So
Um,
we can wrap up. There was a couple of things like the Dame injury we did want to touch on, but some stuff is probably better for next week once we have a better idea of, who's going to be playing and who's in what position.
Yep, next week we'll probably give our awards.
Yeah, we are.
Who thinks should win what? Maybe we'll give a first and second team NBA. A third team is a crapshoot all the time, so I don't think there's point in wasting that. It's just always a toss-up. But first and second team, MVP, DPOY, we'll be bringing all that to you next week for sure.
Yeah, that'll probably be. I mean, that'll probably be the whole show. I would assume there's a lot of conversation to happen. I don't think we're going to nominate the same guys for everything. So we will do our awards next week for the season. It's probably a good spot to do it, like you said. How you feeling about this episode? And most importantly, real quick before we wrap up, how are you feeling about the Thunder now that it's a playoff focus? What are you thinking? How are you feeling? Real quick.
Thunder, great. This episode, great. The Thunder, I'm interested just going forward because, to be honest, the regular season was just the regular season. It really doesn't matter. I saw a stat over the last 15 years, the Thunder are 2 wins away behind the Celtics from being the winningest franchise in the regular season the last 15 years. A small market team doing that's really impressive, but they don't have any championship success to show for being the second winningest team in basketball.
You said the last 15?
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, I guess I'm ignoring the whole KD era, but there was that transitional period where they were just garbage. You'd think a team like the Warriors or
It was
Cleveland.
a quick rebuild, though. They snuck in 40 win years there, so.
That's how a rebuild should go, not how the Hornets rebuild's going for 15 years. We're rebuilding for 15 years. You guys have done 3.
Yeah, no. And even, just like I said, just the regular season's the regular season. They've been statistically the best regular season team of the last 30 years or so. Even better than that Warriors and Bulls team just by the stats. But none of that matters until you prove you can do it in the playoffs. So we'll definitely be looking ahead with some playoff prediction episodes and stuff and diving deeper into it and however the playoffs unfold to get a real view of that team.
I'm excited for it. I think this is going to be a really good year for the playoffs. There's so much talent. There's so many young teams making something happen. I think it really is a battle these old guys versus these young guys. Whose team's going to hold up in the playoffs. And I'm excited to see it. So thank you guys for listening. We covered a lot of hot teams this week, some injury news, the whole Stephen A. and LeBron, whatever you want to call that, controversy, whatever. So it was a good episode. We'll see you guys next week for episode 9. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you guys have a good week. See ya.
Peace.